as I noticed with some of the farm-to-table chefs using local products, there was no health concerns. So they were using the better products, the seasonal products, the stuff that was in our backyard, but then again, they were still using white flour, white sugar, deep frying, using tons of butter, loading all their food with cream.
Everyone, and welcome to Insight into Healing. My name is Alexa Servodidio, and I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Insight into Healing airs Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Insight into Healing. Chef Marcus, welcome to Insight into Healing. I'm so excited to have you on this evening.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
So, I've been reading your bio. How did this all come together? I know you had certain health concerns, but how did you put these all together? How did it begin?
Great question. So, as a young chef in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, I was always taught to cook very, very high quality, tasty food, or what I thought was high quality. You go to culinary school, they don't talk much about nutrition, but they talk a lot about deep frying, adding sugar, white flour, and of course, working at some beautiful hotels. I worked at some very fine hotels across the country, like the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, the Greenbrier in West Virginia. And as a young chef, you just see these massive trucks pull in the loading dock every day and unload unlimited quantities of food. And as a young chef, I started questioning, like, well, where's all this food coming from? It's odd how we can get the same size filet mignon day in and day out and not have to worry about supply. And of course, your farmer down the road on your farm market, they just have a seasonal business, and yet these food distributors have a year-round business of sourcing anything. And of course, at one time it was great. Oh, this was flown in from Paris. This was overnighted from Alaska. This was, from South America. This is some rare thing. It's first day in season in the Southern Hemisphere. And that was cool to a certain extent. But then the fact of that most restaurants, and I was taught this as a young chef, that diners do not come to restaurants, and it was a British chef, so he goes for their vitamins and minerals. They don't do that. They don't come for their fiber to a restaurant. And so at a very young apprentice, that's what I was taught, that vitamins, minerals, fiber, the whole food approach was not the way to go. It was a matter of making the food taste the best it possibly could.
I think you bring up so many different thoughts that I think it's so important for people that healthy eating, whole foods, is not just a way for someone to spend extra money. It really makes a difference where the food comes from and the quality of the food.
100%, absolutely. Now, there were chefs that were doing similar things. Alice Waters was very farm to table. Rick Bayless. There was a lot of chefs out there that were really using farms. But as I noticed with some of the farm to table chefs using local products, there was no health concerns. So they were using the better products, the seasonal products, the stuff that was in our backyard, but then again, they were still using white flour, white sugar, deep frying, using tons of butter, loading all their food with cream. And I feel that, you can take any ingredient, and if you add salt, butter, cream, sugar, and or deep fry it, you're going to make anything taste good. But it's a challenge once you eliminate the fryer, the white flour, the white sugar, all the excessive fats. To be able to make dessert is an extreme challenge. To be able to make a sauce, and the average consumer, the average diner, the average patron going to a restaurant has no idea what's really in their food, how much sugar, how much ingredients that you normally wouldn't use at home. I mean, a basic recipe for like a sweet and sour sauce will call for cups and cups of sugar to go in, and just the excessive amount in desserts, and even dishes like you get a grilled steak dish with a side sauce on it. There's sugar in it. There's other things in it that you just would say, wow. An average person says, well, I don't eat sugar. You hear that from a lot of people. I watch my sugar. I don't eat sugar. And then you turn around and see them at a restaurant, and they just have no idea. If the average consumer knew all the sugar, the salt, the butter that was going into their food, it's a standard practice at a lot of restaurants. After they cook a vegetable, to just douse it in a lot of butter. I worked at one restaurant where everything went into melted butter. The steaks got rested in melted butter. The vegetables went in melted butter. Whatever it was, whether it was spaghetti squash or broccoli, it went in butter. Whether it was a steak, a filet mignon, a chicken breast, a whole roasted chicken, it got doused with massive amounts of butter. And the average consumer is saying, well, gee, I don't really eat that much butter. You go out to eat, you're eating a lot of this stuff.